Here he is, after a few weeks away. It is our pleasure to welcome back the international sports editor of the Daily Hive. It is our buddy, Mr. Rob Williams. Rob, the hockey guy, here with Sekeres and Price. How we doing?
Hey, guys, missed you.
Not as much as we
too.
missed
It's
you.
been a while. Way too long.
It's great to see your face again. Great to hear your voice. Plenty to discuss here. Because I've been following Offside all week, and boy, a lot of catchy headlines there. Let's start with the Canucks radio rights, Rob, which we sit here on August 12th. We don't know where the Vancouver Canucks will be heard next year.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting. I know this is a story. I want to give some credit to Tyler Green, who you guys I know well, and he freelances for Daily Hive as our local sports media insider. He's been talking about this for months, that there was an opportunity for the radio rights to perhaps go elsewhere, or perhaps even to stay in house with the Canucks and doing some sort of online streaming setup for the broadcasts, which I find fascinating. I think it's risky. I mean, I know that the Canucks are going to do whatever they think makes the most money, which all the power to them. That's fine. I just wonder if they're going to be looking at short-term dollars at the expense of, long-term success of the Vancouver Canucks in this marketplace. I think you want people talking about your team. You want people, you want fans engaged with your team, and I think that's going to be pretty difficult to do if the post game show is got a Canucks employee that's running it, and not giving honest journalism, honest opinions. I think that's going to be a bit of an awkward setup if they decide to go that route, which the rumors are getting louder about that.
What do you think, post-game host? You've done a few of them, right, Blake?
Yeah, I mean, those can continue, right? We do it ourselves with Rinkwide, so it's there's no reason why you can't have independent. Of course, you don't have the benefit of the lead-in of listeners of the game. That will hurt the independent outlet a little bit, but hey, Rinkwide never has, and. Hey, down in the States, the big teams own their own networks, right? Like the Yankees are on Yes, and those are all Yankees employees. So we've seen it at other stops along the way, more TV related than anything else, but it's also on radio side for some of those big clubs. And it's just what is. And I think I'm amazed if they even have a separate play-by-play crew. I would be surprised if they outlay that money. I mean, at this point, why would you, for the amount of people that are listening in their cars? And really, again, we talked about this yesterday. It's only cars, right, Rob? I mean, everybody else has got their device on hand. Why wouldn't you look at your phone and watch the game as long as you're not driving?
Yeah.
I mean, and the other thing as well is I know that if I'm, if the game's on and I'm in my car, I'm turning to a station that's not playing the game because I've got the game PVR'd and I don't want to spoil it. And I want to watch it when I get home. So, the amount of time that I actually listen to, especially a Canucks game on the radio, it's pretty rare, right? And I would, I know there's, casual fans might be in the middle. They might not have a PVR. They might be listening to it. But yeah, that's less and less, by the day now, right? Just people's listening habits have changed. So I do get that, things need to be done differently and you need to, adjust to people's listening habits. I feel like it's somewhat similar to, when there was the shift from newspapers to digital, right? And going online. Some outlets, did that well and some did it not so well, but the issue for me is in-house. And I think that, we've seen a lot of great content from Canucks.com, but to me, it's should be reserved for things like behind the scenes stuff. When they do the mic'd up at the draft, that stuff's great. And they do a fantastic job of it. But when you start getting into opinions, and
analysis.
Analysis.
Well,
and that's something that they've gone away from, right? Like they used to have, they used to do more written content on Canucks.com. They don't do as much of that. So to me, the behind the scenes stuff, that's you reserve that for the team owned content. But and I know there's been examples of other teams that have gone in house with their games. Those tend to be teams that are like the LA Kings. They're in a big market, but they kind of get lost in that market. So if you need a bit more coverage, hey, maybe that makes more sense. Or maybe you're an MLS team with a similar issue. The Canucks are king in Vancouver. So to me, you want to get as many people listening and engaging with your product as you can. And Canucks fans are not stupid. Like if the analysis sucks, if they're not being honest about things, people are not going to be in tune with that. And hey, I mean, that's great news for Jeff Patterson and the post game and Andrew Wadden for the post game, because people are going to be searching more than ever before if they get some kind of, post game show like that.
Let me just play devil's advocate with you two guys for a second, because we got to tell me I'm wrong or a hot take on this, Canucks in-house production of the radio rights, of the audio rights earlier in the week. As we have seen in this market for several years, there's a portion of this fan base that believes the Canucks can do no wrong. Like, I don't know how you could continue to support the Jim Benning regime into year 7 and 8 with all the mistakes he's made and defended him. So, would this not be the destination for the ostriches, the ones who want to see no evil and hear no evil, the ones who lack the critical skills, lack the emotional maturity or intellectual capacity to see both sides of it and just want it as simple as Canucks good? It may offend all of our training guys as, people who are trained to present both sides and look at the good and the bad and have a good, thorough, honest evaluation. But I think there's a segment of the fan base that views it as an escape and just wants to feel good about the club, even if they're losing 4-5-1. Find the
those fans are out there for
silver linings,
there.
Blake, as we used to have a segment, right? Silver linings playback.
No, there is definitely an appetite for that. I don't think it's the majority, but will they have their own diehards? Yeah, absolutely. They'll have their own diehards.
What's this, Rob?
Yeah, no, I agree with Blake. I think, for the people that feel like that, and there's some loud ones like that on Twitter, and I get a few of them in my replies anytime I say anything critical at all about the Canucks ever. But that's a minority as far as, from what I gather. That's definitely the minority. I think most fans are passionate about the team. They criticize them when there's things that make them upset, and I think ultimately that's the minority, and you want to have you've got to be a bit spicy, and you got to have some opinions, you got to have some hot takes for fans to be interested, and to have something where it's just I think I called it a propaganda machine. I don't know if it'll go that far, but something along those lines, that's going to turn people off of your product.
Moving along, we discussed a little bit earlier in the week to have a couple of homegrown stars like Rebecca Marino, who's on quite a surge, and Vasek Pospisil coming to the Odlum Brown Vancouver Open is quite a coup. But then they got an absolute gift this past week with Jeannie Bouchard's announcement, Rob.
Yeah, it's a huge boost. I know she's making her tennis comeback. She hasn't played in 17 months, coming back from a shoulder injury. That's obviously a huge boost. I mean, she was clearly once one of the best tennis players in the world, ranked as high as number 5. But of course, her celebrity goes beyond that. Even as her ranking is slid in the last few years. This is still a name, right? And I think for a tournament like the Odlum Brown Van Open, they've got multiple top 100 players on the men's and the women's side, but they've only got one Jeannie Bouchard, which is a name that everyone knows, and that's going to bring eyeballs in and bring attention. And hopefully we can go on a run. I think that'd be fantastic for the tournament, and obviously give the fans somebody to cheer for as well.
Wonderful stuff, my friend. What else you got coming up on the Daily Hive and Offside?
JT Miller being traded yet? I've been off.
Who's that now? Who are you talking about?
Hey,
we'll be following all those fun off-season Canucks topics in the week.
So let's ask you the JT Miller Bodog poll question we have here. If without an extension shows up at training camp, do you think he'll be a distraction?
I think it has to some degree, right? Like that. What are all the questions going to be on day 1, day 2, and day 3 of training camp? I think that definitely has potential to be a distraction for sure. How long it would last, that'd be another story. But I think they run a risk bringing him back for a number of reasons. What if he gets injured? What if his play slips? What do you do then? And or what do you do if the team's in the playoff hunt and now you feel the pressure that you can't trade him, and you end up hurting your team more long term.
Hey, how many clicks has your World Junior content been getting in the summer here? As we, it's a lot easier to
more
click
than
it
there
is
are
to
butts in the seats.
That's what I'm saying. You can click
Place.
a lot easier than you can to buy a seat. So, do you think there's interest?
We haven't really focused much on the games. I don't think there's much interest at all in them. My articles have been about how there has been it's been about the attendance. It's been amazing. I think what was one of the games, the non-Canada games, the non-USA games are averaging around 400, 500 people. And if you look at the photos from the reporters that are there in person, it looks well under that. So shocking numbers. We knew that the attendance was going to struggle, but I don't think anybody saw this coming. Yeah. I think Hockey Canada or tournament organizers, I think, definitely misjudged ticket prices. That's something that we don't often talk about when there's low attendance. We almost sort of blame the fans in some regard, not necessarily in this instance, but the tickets are too expensive. They misjudged the appetite for World Juniors in August, and but even given all of that, I'm surprised in a city like Edmonton that they're getting the numbers that they are, 2,000-3,000 for Canada games. That's kind of unthinkable.
Well,
right?
that's it, Rob, because Edmonton still is known as probably pound for pound the best sports market in Canada. You bring any sort of sporting event into Edmonton, and usually that community gets
this
behind it.
This is their third try at this
it.
tournament.
Fair enough.
I think they're sick and tired of seeing the words World Juniors in their city, for heaven's sake.
I absolutely agree, Blake. We had the same discussion when they were in Toronto and Montreal too often there a couple of years back. I think there is a fatigue with the tournament that has been underestimated. And, of course, this one, there were not a lot of great options with the reschedulement and the postponement in December. Rob, great stuff. Welcome back. We'll talk to you next Friday.
Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend.